So Ethan Kent, you work here at PPS. Our first question is, how was the situation in New York 20 years ago?
Yeah. Well, New York was a city that was defined perhaps negatively by its public spaces and the perceptions of crime and safety issues in them, and has been transformed quite radically over the last 30 years or so. And we think a lot of this had to do with some police efforts, but perhaps more than that, it's been a reclaiming by their neighborhoods, often by the business improvement districts, reclaiming of these public spaces. We think New York's really reinvented itself around its destinations, around places like Bryant Park and Times Square and Rockefeller Center, Union Square. The perception of these places by locals and by people around the world as safe and dynamic and inviting has really changed people's perception of New York as a whole.
You're talking about placemaking. What is that?
Yeah. So we see placemaking as really a multidisciplinary process that draws out the best of all disciplines and communities to reshape public spaces, to really actually challenge communities to take ownership over and reclaim their public spaces. So in a lot of efforts, we work all around the world, from favelas in Rio to new developments in Abu Dhabi. The same principles apply. There needs to be a certain level of safety, but proactive activation of that space, a vision for what you do in that space, needs to really help lead that change as well.
And you also talk about power of 10. Can you explain that?
So the power of 10 is our gimmick for framing a conversation around placemaking at many different scales in a city. We think a good place, one where people feel safe and want to spend time, has at least 10 reasons to be in it. It can be a quiet place, it could be a loud, dynamic place, but there's excuses to be in it. And it could be a very low-income area or a very wealthy area, but sometimes lower-income areas actually do Power of 10 better. But a good street or destination has 10 places in it, each with 10 things to do in it. And then a great city perhaps has at least 10 great destinations as well. So it helps prioritize how to revitalize a city. And perhaps New York has been transformed around these key destinations, each with 10 places in it, each with 10 things to do.
And what would be your advice how we should develop our work with crime prevention and in Sweden?
Right. Well, I think you have the opportunity to really lead change and bring in a whole range of partners towards crime prevention, but by proactively creating active public spaces that people love and take ownership over. You can attract all kinds of partners towards that goal, because in many ways, no one in any city is focused on public spaces alone, or the holistic goal of creating great places. And if you say that the best way to address safety issues is actually to make great public spaces, that's going to go a long ways to getting other people on board as well.
Thank you.